Okay, here we are again with the Danny and Troy show and another exciting reading from Drukpa and Drukpa's adventures that, yeah, Danny has surprised us with another version, I guess, add-on to where we left off last time. And I'm really excited because I had a lot of unanswered questions and, you know, what's going on, how's it going to proceed from here? So yeah, thank you, Danny, for continuing the series of creative expression and the example and the insights that we're gaining from your story that's unfolding here. And please, yeah, over to you.
One, thank you. I'm going to be reading off of my phone, but I labeled this new advent resurrection, principally because I'm not reading yet, principally because I realized that the character living within me was not satisfied with doing nothing. And so this is what's going on inside of him. I've written two different sections. I'll read you one, and let's see if it makes sense. I think this is important to creative expression because we realize that when we think we've come to an end, many times we haven't. We only believe that we have. Okay. Right? You break up with your girlfriend. That's it. I don't ever want to see her again. And then one day you see her again. And it's like, I guess it's not dead. You know, and then you pursue it. So in some sense, this is what Drukpa is going through. Okay. Here we go. By the way, the picture accompanying this is a guy standing on a ledge. I would guess probably, 15, 20 stories up, looking at the sidewalk below.
Can you show the camera quickly, like you did before? Yeah, thanks. Got it.
This is serious. Drukpa thought he had reached an end to his thinking about control, mind control. However, there seemed to be further thoughts lurking. This one was essential. There was a task to be done, to get done. It was essential that he get on it like a duck on a June bug. No hesitation. For in that eternity, there was agony. Just dive in. He who hesitates is lost. Once that switch is thrown, once his eyes looked discerningly at how to tackle the task, everything became clearer and clearer. He needed to focus. It was that first step into the unknown that was the most difficult. Otherwise, he just gazed wall-eyed into space, fretting about the long list that followed the one thing that was on his mind. It's like pulling focus on a turkey's eye to reveal the yard that was full of turkeys, hundreds of them, thousands, millions. Once he had dug deep enough into himself to take the leap, the hop, he was in motion. Sink or swim, do or die. Sure, there would be mistakes. He was known to say that when he finished doing something he had never done before, he would be ready to start. Kickoff. It followed his other famous saying that before anything could be done, something else had to be done first. And so on, and so on, and so on. In that first moment, he had no clear plan only avoidance and a sense of consciousness that he had been waiting for the perfect moment his whole life. It became a mental exercise without the experience of having done something so often that he would be in the mood whenever a thought, the right thought, crossed his mind. Incalculable indeterminants were not matched with any talent or desire. There was just ledge walking. Can on the window ledge. One wrong move, is that better than no step at all? And it was a long way down. Concrete sidewalk below, 40 stories, like an egg, splat. That decisiveness was the key. It wasn't the size of it. It was to cease the disqualifying thoughts. He didn't need a plan. Plans changed the moment they were made. He knew that. Plans became other plans. One single action changed the whole game. Pliability. Plans were devices planted among the populace to disable them and reduce the competition as if they were simply a bother, a nuisance, another tripwire. There had to be a class secret, not to dirty the water, as it were. Change was the only constant. Everyone knew that, but a few accepted it, clinging on to any particle of constancy and routine. Any hesitation, and he was lost. Once more into the breach, again and again and again. Victory was assured when the others failed. Why not take out the pawns first, the incidental, collateral damage, cannon fodder? He who lasted 15 minutes longer than the others won. Attrition. That was also the guy who had the most toys in the end, wasn't it? Damn doubt. Once he was engaged, it was balls to the wall. People said this about him on numerous occasions, that if he was tasked to complete an assignment, he would finish it. If he didn't come back, or you don't hear from him again, it meant he was dead. If it was humanly possible, he was your man. He would get her done. He had earned it. He was a crusader, a troubadour, joyfully riding along, lyre in hand, legs clutching, squeezed to the saddle, spread on the saddle, spurs jingle, 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 face lifted skyward, neck stretched towards the sun, that detested smile of his plastered upon his face that drew so many comments about the nothings that could ever be done to wipe it clean. Yippee, yay, yo, ki-yay, yippee, ki-yay, motherfucker. Get along, little doggies, for you know that Wyoming will be your next home. 6-shooter strapped to his leg, pearl handles on those beauties, all chambers filled, silver bullets, hair trigger, lasso ready to toss, $10 gold piece in his pocket, and a come hell or high water attitude buzzing around his face like so many flies around a honey wagon. Drukpa was a card, King of Hearts, and proud of it. What did he care? As long as he got the senorita or the senora. Let's keep things simple, shall we? Then ride off into the sunset. He was dealt a handful of aces. He never drew from the bottom of the deck because he never had to. Pat hands, straight flush, high stakes, ace high, 7-card stud, card shark, double or nothing, deal 'em, check, hit me, pat hand, raise you, I'll stay. Now it was the card game of his life. Win or lose, table stakes. What did he have to ante up with? Openers. Jacks or better. Pot right? Pot right. His life experience was his ante up. Table stakes, all in. Who were the players? Lots of familiar faces. Seedy Joe, Uncle Harold, Preacher, TG, Chris, Pat Hand, Penny Poker, Nickel, Dime, Quarter. This was not the place to sit and do nothing. It drove the others mad. Everyone knew poker was about reading one's face and keeping your own as dead as a goldfish. No gasping, flopping, flipping, or floundering. It was a game of bluffing, letting it know that he had nothing when he had it all, and having it all to make it look like he had nothing. The objective? Win everything on the table. Clean house. That will require strategy, good strategy. Who's to say that non-activity is good? Sitting, surely. It was clear, surely. The world was crushing men, crushed by the woke, they called themselves. He called them feminazis. They robbed him of his manhood. They made him question himself. That was not good. Was it them who set him against himself?
Right.
His soul searching is continuing.
Okay.
But I feel a freshness about him, a kind of daredevil approach, with all of this stuff behind him. And now I think he's going to go through the files in his head and decide whether or not he's going to obey this revelation that overtook him in Zazen, sitting meditation, because he's not a sitter. But in order to realize he wasn't a sitter, he had to sit.
There's something I'm just looking up now. My dad's got a mug, a coffee mug, and it's something to do with. I'm trying to find the exact quote so I don't misquote it, but I can't. It's not coming up. But it's like I'll get to that when I finish doing what I'm doing right now. And
okay,
but what he's doing is nothing. So it's like right now. I'm doing nothing, but I haven't finished. So I'll get to that once I'm done doing nothing. Let me find I'm sure it'll be here.
Please do. This is a pearl.
Yeah. Oh, it's not coming up. Anyway. Oh, I'm sure I'll bring it back to the conversation next time.
Sure.
Oh, here it is.
Save it for tomorrow.
Today, I'm doing nothing because I started doing it yesterday and I wasn't finished. That's not the exact one my dad's got, but anyway.
That's good enough.
Yeah, that'll do.
Drive by our monk a coffee cup.
That's right.
Cool, it's cool. So what did you get from his resurrection?
That's right. I'm thinking still on the go. I mean, it's still this, realization around, we're in this game, the game of life. I love that reference, and the cards, and coming up and being a winner. Everybody's a winner. It's the realization is not what you do, but it's playing the game that counts. And you can be considered a winner no matter what cards you're given. And yeah, it's the aspect of, in this particular case, this character has been given some really great cards and has the luck of the draw, has the background, the experience, the insights. So the realization of that is coming through, and I think, it's just about getting back on the horse and riding down into the sunset with, gun on the hip, ready for action. That's what I'm getting from it.
I think your comment is very apropos, about I started doing nothing yesterday and I'm doing nothing today because I didn't finish what I was doing yesterday. Yeah. Is really quite apropos. And somewhere in that, he's realizing that doing nothing is getting nothing done. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which, is quite acceptable in terms of Zazen, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, and what? And actually, we mentioned where he lost his manhood, right? He becomes a nothing. Mm-hmm. He has no sex. He's not a male. He's not a female. He's not any of the 722 interpretations of what is between a man and a woman. Uh-huh. I like the Popeye, which I have having a shirt made, right, of my Popeye, and he has tattooed, across here, I am what I am. Yeah. And it's just a cesspool, to go into all of this self-questioning, mm-hmm. which of course is the next section, which is a whirlpool. Yeah. And of course, this principally says, without spoiling it, I tell you, app's gone crazy. But here it is. He says, and I'll begin the session with the same paragraph I'm going to read to you now. Okay. Tomorrow. Okay. It says, spiraling into doubt was an endless whirlpool, the Kraken. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? So you didn't need some octopus coming from the depths to drag you into Davy Jones' locker. Sure. You can do it yourself. Yeah. Right? You can be dragged there by this endless whirlpool of doubt. Right. And then, of course, once you're hooked on doubt and questioning and, all that other stuff which just unsettles people, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, then the idea that they're proposing is the only way to beat that is to continue doing it. And there have to be, I look at like a well, and I'm thinking that, here we are sitting in the bottom of the well, and the whole earth is that little circle of light above us. But to get there, we have to claw our way up the algified, moist, damp walls, that are as slippery as snot on a doorknob. Yeah. And that is only the first step. Even in Plato's cave, you never got to the place where he described the journey out of the cave. I don't think he just turned around, followed the exit signs, and there he was, in the world of light. I think he probably, caves are known for their darkness. If you've ever been underground, right? And they shut the lights off in, the cavern or whatever, just so you can get a sense of what total darkness is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's it's unsettling, right? And to get out of that cave, I think this was Linville Caverns at this time, or somewhere in Kentucky. I was looking at, taking a tour of these caverns, and there's no, you can't talk about cave paintings without these guys having some sight, right?
Okay.
And where did that sight come from? They had to put together the colors.
Sure.
They had to have something in their mind or in their hands that wanted to leave its trace on the cavern walls.
Yeah.
We don't need to be concerned with things like, control all the money in the world when we aren't clear what money is.
Sure.
That's what I want to do. If I'm going to be asked a question, I'm going to want to know what the person asking the question means by the words they use.
Right.
Instead of assuming
Yes.
that I know what he knows, and not assuming that he has an ulterior motive in asking me the question. That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
And the few times I've been in the witness box, I think I've been announced an unfriendly witness.
Okay.
And it's like, I turned to the judge. I remember this one time and I said, I don't see anything unfriendly about what I'm doing, because, one of the rules of the courtroom is you cannot interrupt the witness, right?
Right.
Let him talk, and he
Yeah.
may, sink himself or whatever. But of course, I know what's going on and I want to get the hell out of that courtroom. I'm not on trial, but, I'm being asked as a professional witness. And I'm saying, I think I know what I tell the attorney this. I think I know what you want me to say, which is why you keep asking me questions. And I keep giving you answers that don't satisfy you. And then eventually, he shakes his head and he's got the wrong witness.
Right.
It's like, put somebody else in the box, because I don't want to play your game. I don't want to be implicated in this murder scheme of yours. I think it was an asbestos trial. That's what it was.
Okay.
And it's like, I've got my own answer, and I'm not going to give you the answer that I think you want. I'm going to give you my answer.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how do you deal with a witness like that? Well, dismissed.
Yeah. Talking about creative design, or a design company, or this attribute that you're talking about right now, I think is very valuable. And a lot of people don't want it, and they kind of in mainstream, let's take it to the business context. In order to be successful, you need to, make money, you need to win customers, you need to do this. And they're the answers they want to hear, and they're the answers, all these mainstream consulting and large advisory organizations are saying. But with your approach of saying, okay, I think there's it's a minority group of people that are looking outside of that now, are recognizing that they don't want that mainstream answer. They don't want the cookie cutter solution. And those are the ones that we are going to really connect with, resonate with, and be able to provide service to. And it's such a valuable service to be able to be that and not go down that kind of answer the question in the way that that person wants to hear it. They don't really realize that they're caught in this whirlpool, or whether it's of self-doubt or modern society relationships of what is right and what's wrong. So that's where I see these aspects of coming, and meaningful insights to the story that you're telling. One other thing is was on my mind when a story about the child seeing the bird for the first time, and a child sees this magnificent flying creature that's defying gravity on its mode of transport, and the child says, what is that, Dad? And the father says, that's a bird. And in that instance, the child will never see that bird again, the way that they saw it. That's the father's perspective is, oh, that's just a bird. But now that the child knows it's a bird, it's kind of been, lost of what it really is in terms of its, majestic, magical, miraculous part of what we have around us.
It's you're so right. Children have that affinity, right?
Sure.
It's like the joke that I've told you before about the kid. Kid and his father are walking down the sidewalk, and a woman passes. His dad looks around, and he says, "What a nice ass." And the kid says to kid says to his dad, he said, "What did you say?" And it goes on from there until the father is forced to give the best and truest answer. But as you were talking, I kept thinking, what's the old saying? It's how you play the game, right?
Right.
And we're kind of like the people who have been invited to play Monopoly, and we bring a deck of cards.
Yeah.
Right.
I see that too.
It's like, this is going to be different.
That's right. The whole Monopoly game is a great analogy of what's going on. It's just like these mainstream international organizations, it's not hidden anymore. It's like NATO, it's WEF, it's WHO, it's the International Monetary Fund. These organizations are looking for global control over the monopoly board, and they've got all the main properties board, and if you just controlling the main, so it's not fun to play anymore. But what we are looking to do is reinvent or put a new track on that monopoly board, so you don't have to go down that, hoping that you hit free parking every time. Why don't you step over? And we are reinventing, we're introducing new opportunities on how to play Monopoly.
It's like it comes to you and they say it's your turn, but you move your piece where you want it to be without throwing the dice.
Sure. That's another.
And then suddenly people are saying, what are you doing? And it's like, well, I'm playing by my own rules.
Yes, that's a great analogy.
And other people might get upset because you're not giving the stock answer.
That's right.
Well, I don't want to give the stock answer because you already know the stock answer.
Yeah.
And I suppose you could create an algorithm at that point in time in playing the game of Monopoly and tell us ahead of time who's going to win.
Well, that's interesting.
We're always unpredictable. So, we may principally just get up and leave the room. What's that going to do? Do the rules in Monopoly tell you what to do with the other person's property if he gets up and leaves the room? I don't think so, right?
Yeah.
And then the players have to start talking with each other to figure out who gets Boardwalk, right? Who gets Marvin Gardens and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, that's not in the rule book. You can't do that. But people improvise.
That's right.
Because Monopoly's an old game. But I think that the way I play Monopoly from childhood, I don't refer to the rule book.
Sure.
Rules are quite simple, right? You got to roll the dice. Got to use money. But if I disregard those rules, and if I just steal the game or punch my brother out, kick my sister out of the game, I win. Right?
But how fun is that?
We're not playing by the rules.
Sure.
It's control, principally if everybody's playing by the rules, you know how it's going to end.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned those words, algorithm and predictability, because it ties in with data science and what I'm, heavily interested in. But yeah, I see that data analytics, because of how digitized the world is becoming, this is how, we're starting to see the information of the true overall picture. I mean, it's only, you go back to, okay, when I said, it's these companies, it's only because of how open our communication networks are coming in them. We're seeing other revenues of media that isn't mainstream, that we can actually see the data, because, not too long ago, all this was hidden. These under-table deals with pharmaceutical companies and marketing and governments, just to mention maybe what's happening with coronavirus, is that, it was all just almost impossible to get the information. But because of how digitized the world is, and because of people being able to talk and be able to present their thoughts, their insights, the world is becoming more aware or conscious of what's this overtaking of this global dominance through these bigger players. So data has helped, right? And that's my point. In data, in analytics, and looking at patterns, that can really help with introducing new ways, new alternatives. And yeah, same with predictions. You can predict what's going on. And that is, I think, a great tool to use when we're reinventing or reintroducing or bringing in a new way of playing the game and saying, okay, if nothing changes, I don't want to roll the dice. I just want to put my piece where I think it should go. And, if the people playing the board game at the time say, no, you cannot do that, then, that's where we're at.
Watch me.
Yeah. If we can get people saying, oh, I think that's a good idea. If one player has dominant over everything, and then there's like 10 other people wanting to do that, then it's 9 to 1. And this is all data analytics as well. It's like working out, gathering the information, what's the choices, what are the options. But yeah, that was really hard to do, and still is actually, but more so in the past, because we didn't know that this one player was really controlling everything. With it, I mean, it was kind of, in my mind, you thought it possibly could be true, but it was just overwashed. But now it's just so evident that, it's not a fair game anymore, and people are looking to even further dominate that, at a world level, at a global level.
What are you doing? You're supposed to be a sucker.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you speak up about it. It's like, oh, the conspiracy theorists are thinking about this, and they're saying that, and you go back to just not thinking and don't look at that data. I mean, yeah, there's talks about retracted documents, thousands of pages, in this pharmaceutical case of coronavirus and evidence around vaccines. The information is just being hidden, but at least we're getting some information saying that these are the documents, but this is hidden. Before it was, all really difficult to get. But I think, the companies are kind of pushing it so far, and because of technology, we're able to, people that are playing the game are able to realize in every aspect. I think it's, just using data science, collecting data, making sense of it, analyzing, and then taking action. So yeah, algorithms and predictability, and using data science, I see a key part in producing new innovative solutions that are fun to play, that rewrite the rules.
It's interesting to me that you would use the rigidity of data analytics to come up with flexible alternatives. Would you explain that to me?
Yeah.
How you can use, I won't say it again. How do you do that?
True data science, in the sense that I'm talking about, takes a level of artistic and creativity and insight. It's like, I was watching some series I wasn't watching. I was just walking past while Layla was watching, about doctors and going into the theatre, and they were talking about the same thing. They were saying how, when you walk into that operating room, of course, there's a procedure that needs to be done. But as soon as you start, you need to make judgments. You need to make, changes. You might need to, treat it in a way that you've never experienced before, but you have to make these decisions. So that, and they talked about it being an art form. So yes, the procedure's written on the wall. You've got to do this, do that, do this, follow that procedure. But there is this artistic requirement that comes to the really great, whether it's talking about surgeons or data scientists, there's this level of, it's just an art that comes into play. And that's what I'm talking about when I say, okay, it allows for this, yes, it's a rigid process of data, but still based on that information, and because of how changeable the world is and changing the world is, we can't say, well, the data says this and that's all that matters. It's a combination. The data says this, the environment is set up like this, my own insights and thoughts are saying this. It's not to ignore any one of them, but to combine them together, and that's the true aspects of data science in its new realm, only emerging like 10, 15 years ago. That's what people are talking about. It's not rebranding mathematics and saying, oh, now we've got a new name and it's the same old thing, mathematics, but we're going to call it data science so people can get excited about it. No, it really is a new thing that involves this artistic ability to make meaning out of the world in whatever situation you're keen on exploring.
It seems to me that things start with wondering. I wonder about this, right? And that sense of wonder or wonder, they're both, right? Whether it's an O or an A, are involved in exploration. Right. And it's not so much that, it's just that we don't understand it. Nature works in a certain way. Planets, suns, whatever, universal. We come to understand certain dynamics. It doesn't affect them one way or another. They're going to happen the way they're going to happen. But we come to understand it. And then we think that the day will come when we shall be as gods. And we try to start to manipulate things. This is what worries me about most applied sciences, is we think we have the clarity. Well, let's go to Mars, let's build a station on the moon. And it's like, I would think that if we need some kind of incentive, that we would get things right here before we go and, spread our mess somewhere else. It's like, the Anunnaki, whatever, from Nibiru. I don't think they were all Einsteinian in their wisdom, right? They were just principally using the situation for their own benefit. And come what may, that's what they taught us. I don't believe in this other nonsense about evolution or whatever. We started off, I can't wrap my mind around it. It's like we came from somewhere else. And we developed here on this rock. Right? we have to come to grips with where we are, who we are, what we're doing before we, pull up stakes and go and start mining for titanium on the moon. It's like, haven't we missed something here? And I think that's one of the avenues of exploring things like that, whether you're writing a comic book, a novel or whatever, or a TV show or a movie. There has to be something engaging in that composition that pulls people forward from what they know into what they don't know and making a proposal. It's and I would hate to think that we are in the jaws of Hollywood, where the major theme is, if you find something that works, beat it to death. And that's what I think they're doing now with monkeypox.
Sure.
Well, we've got something going to let whoever's running that show, I think they need to stop drinking, right? Like 911 wasn't enough. And it seems to me some kind of a progressive methodology about how to, pull the wool over people's eyes.
Yeah.
All right. And now, okay. All right. Well, we tried it with Trump. Now we'll try it with Ukraine. If that doesn't work, wait a minute. What about COVID? COVID, that's not our concerns anymore. It's monkeypox. It's like, oh no. Can I just check out now?
Yeah.
You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Well, the Hotel California here, right?
That's it.
So, more and more, I'm not rebelling, because first of all, I'm not fighting it. I'm ignoring it. I'm sorry, but I can't see how many monkeypox molecules are in my house, or how many, COVID, whatever it is, what number it's at now, or what variation it is. It's like, okay, we've got all the technology where we can just track viruses. Okay, but that doesn't mean, I'm going to watch the series. It doesn't mean I'm going to sign up to play. If some kid hits a baseball in the neighbor's yard and it lands in my window and, strikes me on the head and kills me, well, I guess I should have had a vaccination. Like, get away from me. I don't know, simplicity. Just want to try and keep it simple. And we do in creative expression, we look, we're kind of like I said earlier, we're like business therapists, right? We have to, not only that, we're social, et cetera. We have an analytical way of looking at data, just different perspectives on things. And then because we are where we are, and we have the not necessarily a stable, ready to go, where I never believed in. I think, you should have employees should be contractors. If you hire somebody to come clean your house, do you think that in the second year of their service, they're going to do as good a job as somebody who comes in the following day and takes their place? I don't think so, So just keeping it fresh, bringing in with people who have interesting ideas, who have some track record of success, who have abilities to be able to, work within the new digitized world. These are important, or they're not. You get to people who get to a point where they're saying in Austria now, if you don't work out this inflation nonsense, people are going to depend 100% on psychotropic drugs and alcohol. And I was thinking, they're doing that now. And what, inflation is going to make me live in a constant fantasy world? Maybe. But what business is it of yours? Why? Because I'm not another cog in your machine. And if I didn't show up to work, then the German economy is going to fail. Well, and what does that mean? Oh, well, you're not going to be able to fry eggs. And it's like, okay, maybe I can find another way, which is, of course, what we're looking at. Alternative, right? Alternatives. Well, you're doing something now and it's costing you too much money. So maybe you better leave Miami. But, you know, if you leave Miami and move up to Pinehurst, North Carolina, you know, you're still influential just by being there, and your driving style, you know, and how you already know how to respond to people. You know, I was at the DMV today, Department of Motor Vehicles, and a couple walk in and they're talking to the agent, and I'm next door, next in the next booth. And they're saying, "Where are you from?" She said, "Well, we just moved here from California. My wife, me, and 7 kids." And I'm thinking, okay, well, you're going to change the town you move to, right? Outside of selling your house in San Jose and coming to a 1-horse town like this one. All right, well, you're going to be looking for stuff, and you're going to be bringing stuff with you. Right. Okay. And you're going to meet the postmaster, which is the, you know, kind of like the modern day barber shop without the chair. And you're going to go from there. Well, people don't advise him, and probably didn't advise him, how to act once he gets from San Jose to, which is, you know, near Silicon Valley, to Nowheresville.
Yeah.
And you can make a business equation out of that too. What are you going to do? You're just going to roll into Melbourne, right? And open up a Chinese noodle shop. Okay, well, you better be prepared to stay, and you better make one hellacious noodle.
Well, yeah, from my perspective, it's always around the data and letting it drive. Okay, what information is coming to me? Is this working? Is this not working? And, you know, in terms of what we were talking about before, the self-doubting going on in your mind, being aware enough to make judgments. You know, it might work going to Melbourne and selling, you know, noodles that that to others taste terrible. But, you know, there might be a niche of people with that taste. So you never know. I can't rule it out and say this is right, this is wrong, or this, whether this person coming from, you know, the West Coast into the East Coast without any knowledge, you know, of what to do or how to act. But time will tell. And if they're open to receiving data, gathering information, making judgments based on that information, and taking action that is in their best interest. It might be, you know, this isn't the place for them, or, yeah, actually, this is really exciting. This is new. You know, did you hear what I met this fascinating guy today, Danny Teal. He told me about this. You know, these things, you just never know. I'm not one to say this, you know, is the right way, or this is not the, you know, best way. But what I do know is it's, you know, for me anyway, collecting information, making sense of it, and then taking action. And that is a continual process, and being open to creativity and innovation and insights. And, you know, what we were talking about before is, you know, kind of this almost stopping and doing nothing until, you know, you've finished doing that to move on to something else. That's my
I think
thoughts.
we have to dabble in a little bit of everything. Right?
That's right. I mean,
and even when we
do the same thing over and over again, it just becomes boring. And yeah, it's, well, I think the world is ready for this change. I mean, exactly like what you're saying. It's like things are a little crazy. Things are just going, you know, on a big spiral. It's monkeypox, you know, and people are like you saying, "Oh, I'm not really convinced. I'm not going to play that game anymore." And they're looking for something new. And that's why I think, you know, when that's what I want to do, is provide an option for them to have something new. Come to, you know, a creative expression workshop. Come to a company that understands design thinking. Come to a company that is open to new perspectives, new environments, new approaches, and see what happens. It's not that we're promising anything, but collect the data for yourself, make your own decisions,
right.
And actions.
And from my experience, people usually find out that the answers they are looking for are in the greatest simplicity.
Sure.
Not by, trying to meet every challenge with an answer. It's like you're going to exhaust yourself.
Yeah.
It's, people keep doing the same thing over and over again until they learn that it's not working. And sometimes that takes a lifetime. And how many times do people have to test their own stupidity about doing the same thing and expecting different results? Like, well, that as evident as it seems, in conversation, in reality, people don't work that way. And what do you rely on? Well, you rely on your feelings. The saying is that something is right because you knew it before. So it clicks, it's in the groove. And that gives a very satisfying, reassuring feeling, right? Of, well, I guess I must be on the right path.
Yeah.
And really it kind of boils down to that, the really simple things in life, right?
Sure.
Very simple. Lena was doing some painting in the kitchen today, and she was, had it was around a border. So she had this piece of metal and here this long, and I said, can I interfere? Be careful, And I said, here's a brush, right? Brush, about that wide, about 2-inch brush. And I said, and you're using the paint, first of all, wet the tip of the brush, do this, and then something she hadn't thought of, I said, when you are going to paint this surface, let's see, how do I look? Like this. You don't paint it like this. I said, you press the brush, push the brush into the wall. And that compacts the bristles in a way in which you can slide the brush and create a straight line. Instead of trying to use something to, paint a straight line and be sloppy about it, it's just a matter of technique. There are many ways you can use a brush.
Sure.
Save yourself time, do a better job, not have more things you've got to clean up in the end, et cetera, et cetera. Just push the brush. So the bristles, so you're going to get a reaction, and then there's an angle, right, at which you do it so that you just can't, when you push the brush along this line, it'll be a straight line. And standing on the floor, because this was, that far from the ceiling, they said, nobody's going to notice.
Sure.
But I'll know. Like, all right, do it your way. But I left the room and it was like, okay, press the brush. And yeah, okay, good. So you learn something, right? And you pass it on.
That's right. That's right. We're here to pass
and we,
on.
I think we kind of guarantee novelty and excitement in what we do. And if you doubt me, look at our logo. It's fantastic. It speaks many different volumes about things, and it sparks the imagination to keep people's minds and creativity alive and functioning, and working with other people. And if you're not working with other people, you be alone. If you're going alone, well, you don't need to be on the planet. I know a cave you can go to in the Paro Valley in Bhutan, spend the rest of your life there.
Well, all to their own is what I say. And I do know monks in Paro, in Bhutan, that do the same thing every day, but they're not expecting different results. And, when you ask them, they're wholesome, they're fulfilled, they're enjoying life. So it's not that, in my mind, it's not, there's no wrong or right, and it's not wrong to do the same thing every day, time and time again. But what is, like we've seen and quoted in definition from, Einstein or whoever it was, expecting different results. If you're expecting different results, then it's when the happens. And I think we, each to themselves. If that's what you're looking for, then great. And if that's what you found, like I know these monks have found, but it's not for me. I want to be out. I want to be exploring. I want to, you know, make mistakes, see things evolve, see things move, see things, well, in some cases, yeah, go wrong so I can learn and go the next step. And I'm very curious in nature, not only in the, you know, inner workings of humankind, but also in the outer aspects of what we are capable of, what we have here in this world that we're now existing in. So to go back to the logo, Shane, my brother, was telling me a story. He was listening to Joe Rogan, I think it was, who was talking about unicorns and how we don't need these mythical, magical creatures like a unicorn. When we have something as magical and, you know, mysterious as the octopus, just that can open your mind up to everything that is, you know, fantasy, but is a reality. The attributes of an octopus are so, you know, fantastic and in this fantasy realm that, but because it's there, just like the story I said, when the father says that's a bird, we've been told that's an octopus, and we never see that octopus the same again.
Yeah. And of course, you know, when we are observing the octopus, we never see that octopus again at any moment.
That's
it's
right.
always something different.
Yeah, the passage of time.
All right, then, Troy.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, we'll discover Drukpa in the whirlpool.
Great.
You know, as he goes about dealing with the issues from the past, leading him still back on track, he thinks, right? That now he's going to be in a refreshed, rejuvenated state, looking at things as he never did, simply from having met the change by doing nothing. You know, I think the Russians would say, doing nothing is doing something too.
Yeah. What was the last quote you were saying? That from the Zazen about good for nothing. That's it. Meditation is good for nothing.
I love language.
Yeah. But you know, on the deep side of it, you know, it's great to do nothing. So meditate, and yeah, you'll get there.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it. See you tomorrow.
Bye. Thanks, Danny.
Thank you, Troy.